Hello and welcome to a new part. In this part we'll be working on validation. Remember, in the last part we have created an endpoint for creating new users. Alright, this endpoint is /users that accept a post with the user data and will save it to the database. But the problem here is that here in my postman, where I test the user, the endpoints, here I can send a request without a body, with a null body. So if I send, alright, let me first run the server. So npm run dev. Alright, cd API npm run dev. Alright, now if I send a request with an empty body, alright, it works. Alright, if I check my database, I can see that I have a new user created, alright, with no information, just the ID. So this is bad. Alright, we need to add some checks, some validation. Plus, if I add some information and send an empty email, alright, also it works. So if I go to my database again and refresh, I can see a new user with an empty email. So a user needs to have an email and a well formatted email. So let's now create some validation to prevent these cases from happening. So here in the request to the /users endpoint, here where we are getting the request.body, which contains the user data. Alright, we'll put a check here to make sure that the data sent by the user contains the needed information. It has a first name, a last name, an email, and a password. So let's get down to do some checking. So if user dot first name, alright, and user dot last name, and here the first name, the n is capital, and the last name, the n is capital. Alright, and user dot email and user dot password. Then alright, we'll continue. So we'll only do this check if, alright, so what better than this, what we can do, alright, is we make the check inside the try catch. Okay, inside the try catch we'll check, alright, if all is available, then we'll create a new user, else we'll throw new error, and this error will be validation error. Alright, so once we throw the error here, we'll get this case here, the send status 500. Alright, so what we can do, we can set the status to 500 and send the message of the error. So error dot message. Alright, so this way we get the correct message. So back to our postman. So if we send an empty body data and click send, right, we'll get the validation error. If we send the data, for example, without the email, we get also the validation error. Alright, without the last name, we'll get the validation error. So we need to have all the information. Now if I click send, alright, I get a 200 OK. So if I refresh my database, here it is, a new user has been created. So now the first case has been covered, where the data, all the required data should be available. The next step is to check that the email has the valid format and the password has the correct format. Now, to check that the email has the correct format and the password, right, we can use regular expression. For the email, we need to make sure that there is one or more characters then followed by an @ So here we need to check that we have a bunch of characters and followed by an @ then the bunch of character, one or more character, then followed by a dot, and then 2 to 4 characters or 3 characters at the end, which signifies the TLD of the domain. So in order to do this, we'll rely on regular expression, and for this regular expression for the email, we'll search the internet for JavaScript, alright, email regex or regular expression, whatever. Here we got the first link which point to the W3 resource, and in the W3 resource we'll get a regular expression ready to be used. So here it is. So we need this variable which contains the regular expression. So we'll use the, here after checking that all are available, all the values needed data is available, we store the regular expression into a constant, alright, and we'll make a match. So here we can copy this. If user.email, alright, if user.email.match mail format, if not user.email.match mail format, then we'll throw an error. And this time the error would be new error, wrong email format. So again we'll test. So this time we'll remove the @ and we'll send wrong email format, alright, which was working perfectly. So this is concerning the email. Now for the password, we need to make sure that the password is strong. So we need to check that it has a character and a digit, at least one digit and one character and one uppercase character. And we need to check that it has a one special case character. We can do this JavaScript password validation. Here we'll also get the second link is the W3 resources. Here we'll have many options. We'll get the last option, which check for a really strong password that is between 8 to 15 characters and contain at least one lowercase letter, one uppercase letter, one numeric digit, and one special character. So we'll scroll down to the last one and we'll get the regular expression, which is here. And the same way we'll create a constant for pass format, and we'll do the same check for the password, and we'll match it to the pass format this time, and then we'll send wrong password format. It must be. Alright, then we'll get the message here that describes the rule between 8 to 15 character, and then the rest. It must be between 8 to 15 characters which contain at least, alright, the whole message. Now if I save and go to my postman, and concerning the password I remove the dots. So now the password contain digits, contain uppercase and lowercase, but no special characters. So if I send wrong password format, alright, I get the wrong password format. Now if I put the dot and send, I'll get the duplicate email, which works. The validation has been passed, but the email, I already have been registered a user with the same email. So let's refresh our database and make sure there's no any new user. Alright, so now we have covered the validation. This is the most basic way to validate our data. Now as you can see, the function has becoming a little large, too much information inside a single function. So what we'll do, we'll create a function that will test for this information, for the validation, and give us the result. So we'll abstract this information into a function. To do this, we'll create a function which we'll name it, let's say, function validate user, alright, which will take a user object as a parameter. And inside of this function, we'll copy this code here. So we'll first we'll check if user.firstname, then we'll add an error. So let's create an array of errors. So we'll create a constant errors, which will be equal to an array, and we'll push to this array every time we encounter an error in the validation. So let's say user.firstname, if not user.firstname, so we'll add an error. So errors dot push first name is required. Alright, we'll do the same thing for the last name, and for the email, alright, and for the password. Now, after checking that the email is available, next we'll also check that the email is an email. So we'll create another function. We'll name it is email. It will take an email as a string. Inside of it, we'll store the regular expression for the email. I'll cut it and I'll create it here. Then the same way, what I'm doing here is I'll make the check if now we have email, if email.match mail format, instead of throwing a new error, I will return what I will return. I will return the expression, which will return either true or false. Alright, is email. So if email.match, alright, if it's true, then the email is correct. If it's false, then the email is not valid. So here I will check if is email user.email, then I will, what I will do, if not is email user.email, then I will push to the error array the message wrong email format. Now the same for the password. Alright, else I will create another function for is password. So here it will be is password, and I will copy the regular expression of the password, removing this line. I will name it, of course, pass format, pass. Alright, and here the same syntax. If is pass user.password error, what will be the message? Wrong password format. Alright, this long message here, and I of course remove this line. Alright, so we have our checks. Oh, alright. Then at the end, alright, we return the errors with S, so it's multiple errors, it's an array. Alright, so validate user now will help us to check whether the user is valid or not. So we'll remove all of these stuff and we'll check if validate user. If not validate user, then we'll throw the error that we were throwing, the alright, if, or we can check the length since we're returning an array. So validate user dot length is equal to 0. If it's 0, then we'll throw, if it's more than 0, greater than 0, so the array has some errors, then we'll throw the validation error. Alright, now in order to throw the array as an error, alright, that specific case require us to create a custom error, which we'll be doing in the next video. So for this video, we will just throw a text error. Alright, so let us test our work. So now if I remove the object, if I send a request without a body and click send, I'll get a validation error. Now if I send without the with a malformatted email, is passed is not defined. Wait a moment. So alright, we'll get to the email. Is pass is not is password. Alright, so the name is password. Alright, so validation error. Alright, now let's add the and send. Oh, we still got a validation error. So we have made a mistake here. So let's console.log the errors, what we are getting at the end, to see what errors we are receiving. So if we click send, and we'll check the console. We'll get last name is required, so our error is in the last name because we mistyped the property, so it is user.lastName. Alright, so this will solve our problem. It was a typo in the last name, which we typed the n lowercase. So now if I try again, I expect to receive a duplicate email error. Alright, which is working great. For the password, is if I remove the special characters ... and click send, I will get a validation error. But if I put the ... and click send, duplicate email, which is perfect. If last name is empty, I will click send, validation error, which is perfect. Now we have the validation in place. Alright, next we'll create a custom error validation class, which allow us to print the validation errors in details. So see you in the next video. I hope you enjoyed this one and get some benefit from this information. See you.